your dream job. I'm like, I don't dream to work. Like, who wants a job? Famous motivational speaker Zig Ziglar said that people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why it's recommended daily. This is how to get unstuck. 6 practical tips to get you inspired and moving again. Hey lovelies, welcome back to the channel. If you are new, my name is Janelle. The channel is called Love Janelle. I make self-development videos along with some vlogs showcasing my own self-development journey. I also make waist bead videos where we often explore the spirituality, religious and scientific sides of how everything works. So if you're interested in things like that, be sure to check out some other videos and I will link them along in this video as well as in the description bar. Also in the description bar you will find timestamps, so if you do want to jump around in the video, if there's a point that I make and you want to go back to it anytime, they will be labeled and listed there, as well as affiliate links. So anything that I'm mentioning, if there's anything that you're interested in looking into more, I will be posting that in the description bar so you can go ahead and get those yourself. And there will be other resources. If I refer to a video here on YouTube, I'll be sure to link it down below just so it's easier for you to get to that. I hope you finish watching my video before going on to those, but the resources are all in the description bar. So let's get into this video. So I'm gonna get a little bit more comfortable just so we can flow a bit better. And letting you know, I am going to be looking in my book. I have notes just to keep me on course, and it'll be easier for future Janelle to edit without having to cut out me looking down. So just know it's coming, all right? So number 1 would be to take inventory of the media you are consuming. Now, when I say media, I'm talking about everything around you that you're consuming, whether they be ads, television shows, movies, social media, music, so on and so forth. Anything that can bring influence to you where you're being marketed to in some way, shape or form. I personally don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news for many years, not on purpose at least. There are times where I would have seen them on my timeline on social media, and even that right now I've gone ahead and removed all of that. So if you do find that you are scrolling on social media and you are not paying attention to how you're feeling, I need you to do that right now. So first off, you're not going to get on any kind of media first thing in the morning. That's time when you're going to spend time with yourself and figure out your life before you engage in anybody else's, or before you allow anyone else's viewpoint into your space. If you find that you scroll on social media and you don't feel edified when you come off, if you find that you're spending many hours on there, you haven't really learned anything and haven't elevated in any way, this is a good time for you to go through who you are following and either mute or remove them from your feed so you're not receiving that as much. I did this a few months ago on my Instagram. I'm still working on my TikTok, but I don't follow as many people on there. But on my Instagram, I removed quite a few pages that weren't bringing anything of value to me. I thought I would miss them, like Media Takeout and Shade Room and things like that. And I actually don't. I wasn't really consuming that much of it to begin with. Well, so I didn't actually think I was. I would scroll, I wouldn't really spend much time on those pages, but I do realize subconsciously every time they did show up on my timeline, I was taking in that information. So completely removing things like that and taking myself over to Pinterest, where things are a bit more inspirational over there, I found that I was becoming a lot more productive and I don't get stuck as much thinking about what other people are doing or consuming myself with what others are doing online. I do live in Florida, so it is a question, how do you know if a hurricane's coming? Well, you'll kind of see people prepare around you. Florida hasn't had a really big hurricane since Wilma and Katrina quite a few years back. I hope we don't get anything big, and I know that a serious hurricane is coming when the Dasani in public starts to disappear. As far as music is concerned, lots of people do complain about not having variety and having too much of one type of music on the radio or in your playlist. I typically use Spotify as my music app, and I select lots of different genres of music to mix things up. You can, a lot of the time you can find things that you already enjoy listening to and find a different type of version, like a cleaner version to what you're listening to. My son and I both love listening to music. One thing that we have started doing, mostly me, but we have connected a lot of the music that we're already listening to, a lot of the artists we enjoy, and the way they provide the music. Maybe they deliver the music in a certain cadence that we enjoy, a flow or something like that. We can look in other genres similar to see if we can find something similar. So as far as the faith rappers are concerned, we look at artists like KB and D1. Artists like that, we tend to enjoy the music. They are just as good as the more mainstream rappers that you hear about most of the time, but they're speaking about different things. So if you are tired of hearing about the bang bang shoot 'em ups and the look at what I have bling bling, they're speaking about other things in the same kind of field. So it's still rap music. If you enjoy rap, there's still hip hop. If you enjoy hip hop, but they speak about different things. So just change things up a bit. Just a recap of number one, that would be just to remove all of the things that don't serve you as much anymore on this journey. You can also, if you don't want to remove everybody from your main pages on Instagram or TikTok, you can go ahead and just create other pages. Probably a lot of you already have extra pages. Just make sure you are following the things that you really want to elevate to on those pages, so at least you do have a space to get away and only see what you really need to see. All right, so number two would be to shift your environment. Shifting your environment can be as simple as changing your bedspread, making adjustments, small adjustments in your room, incorporating a plant into a space, changing out your rugs, doing something different in the space that you're already in. It creates a little shift in your mind and allows some more ideas to come through. Creativity starts to flow through with just little shifts. If shifting your space isn't ideal for you, how about just leaving the house, going out on walks, changing your environment in that way? It's very free, very simple to go on the walk, take a look into nature, take a look at the fine details, be more mindful and meaningful about your actions. Living in the moment as much as possible can also jolt your brain into looking at things differently, looking at things in a more creative way. And usually when you do get that burst of creativity, it's often followed up with a burst of motivation, which is what we need to get things going. So even within that, you know, if you are working from home, you can go out on walks on your break. If you are working at a physical location, yes, just going outside, there's nature everywhere, right? So incorporating some nature into your day, walking, doing something outside of the norm. Usually if you do go for a walk, it may become boring if you're doing the same walk every day. How about you switch the direction up a bit? Maybe you always walk out the door and walk to the left. How about today you walk to the right? Maybe go straight and then right, and then just changing things up every day. And it kind of leads to another point I'm going to make later on in the video, but for right now, just getting outside, changing things about, changing your environment, going to a coffee shop as opposed to working in your home. If you're able to do that, then do that. One thing I really like to do, kind of going back to the nature, is actually eating outside in nature. Ever since I was a child, I've enjoyed eating food outside. When we had school picnics or school trips, just eating a sandwich outside, it just does something to you. So suggesting that too, just going out, changing up the way you would typically eat. If you're usually eating a cubicle, or you just go outside, maybe sit in your car if you don't have an open space to eat. Just changing little things like that make a big difference. Going on vacation, whether it be a weekend near your town or internationally, and experiencing another culture, that's going to help open your mind, bring a lot of creativity to you. I found that when I do go on vacation, I see things in a whole new light. One, there's no stress of everyday life bothering you, so you have a lot more space to open your mind and see things from another point of view. Something that's not too surprising but quite interesting to know is that most of the products and services that we do utilize here in the US, the ideas came from other countries, mainly other people venturing out and experiencing other cultures, services, and foods. They were able to adapt them and bring them back to the US and profit off of those. So if you want to be productive and come up with the next big idea, traveling is important to do that. Now, let's say you don't have a budget to travel, you're going to make a budget to travel. Not just you making a budget to travel is actually going to help to motivate you also. So find creative ways to save some money for a particular trip is going to get you moving by default. Number 3 would be to build or review your routine. So if you don't have a routine, you need to work on building one now. Let's say you do work a 9 to 5 and your shift is 10 to 7, which I feel like is the worst shift. It takes up your whole day. You can't do much before or after. But now you're going to expand your mind enough to become more creative, to figure out how you're going to create a routine around your regular schedule. Now, let's say you do have a set 10 to 7 schedule. Obviously, before the hours of 10, you have time to work with that. So I'm going to dial it back maybe 2 hours before that, just because you're going to need time to get ready and prepare yourself and transport yourself to work, right? So between the hours, I would suggest at least 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. You'll have time to do things for yourself, making sure you include your body, so some sort of physical workout, making sure you're eating well, your mind, make sure you're emptying out all of the extra junk information that you don't need. So just writing down, journaling, everything, your spirit, taking time to be mindful, pray, meditate, having some time with your higher power or your higher power. You want to also cover relationships, making sure you are being mindful with the needs of others around you. For instance, if you are a parent or a spouse, you want to make sure you take some time to feel good doing this. So don't do it resentfully, but taking time to maybe prepare a meal for your family in the morning, or set some clothes out for your partner. Doing little things, showing your love, showing up in those ways, calling a friend, maybe having a routine where every month on the same day you call that person. I started doing that randomly. I don't know why, but I just selected their birthdays, everybody's birthday. So every day of that month, every month, or every day on each month, for that date on every month, I make sure I give them a call just to check in. Sometimes you don't have to call, maybe just text or message them. I, in the past, have not been good at keeping up with relationships. I typically get engulfed in myself, and everybody flies by the wayside. So if you keep up, you keep up. And if you understand that when we start talking again, it's like day one again, we're cool, and it's not taken personally, usually those people stick around and we're good. But I did realize I have to take more time building, supporting, and just working on those relationships, including the relationships, finances, just taking a look at what your money is doing. Try and automate things as much as possible. I know in the beginning when that started, I felt very uncomfortable, but as time's gone by and me automating things a bit more, it leaves more room, more time for me to do other things. Just making sure you're focused on making sure the money is in the account for when it needs to be drawn, and then just double checking your emails and making sure that the receipts are all correct. you'll receive an invoice before saying we're going to draft this amount. Just taking a quick second to take a look at all of those, say, okay, that's the right amount, we should be good to go. If there is an issue, schedule a call for that company later on in the morning, but you can definitely do things like that first thing in the morning. And then you also have room for your passion. So if you are pursuing anything, I use culinary as an example. Let me use something else. Let's say personal training. Let's say you want to become a personal trainer and you don't have all the money to go to school and things like that yet. So you can go to the library, get a book that is in the field. Usually they have the latest editions at the library, or you can go on Amazon and check there for whatever book you need. But you can spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour each day just reading, taking notes, and learning about your passion, the field that you're going into. Now, know in your mind that it doesn't have to be ultimately the be all end all everything you want to do, because my biggest issue with getting started, getting moving, and feeling motivated is feeling like I'm going to change my mind later on and I'm not going to want to do it anymore. So I've wasted time trying to do something and I no longer want to follow that passion. Don't worry about it. You can pivot. Just allow yourself room to pivot. Spend at least 3 months on each thing though. So let's say I am going to do personal training. The goal is to follow until completion, but let's say you've gotten to a point where you're 3 months in and you can't stand it. You realize this is not for you and you're really stuck because of that, not necessarily because you're they're not inspired. Well, you're not inspired if you're just really bored with it. So at least you've known for yourself, you've given enough time to find out that that isn't for you, and then you can go ahead and pivot by, again, just at least allowing 90 days to work on something, and then you can pivot. And honestly, one thing you might find is that you might not need to go further than the 90 days, and all the information that you've gained up until that point will come in handy for another thing that you decide to venture down into. So if you have a new passion, let's say you wanted to, I don't know, become a pro skater, like what you've learned as far as body mechanics and things like that from your personal training venture, you can bring that and become an ice skater, So just know that most of the things that you're interested in are connected, and it may not be necessary to continue forcing something that isn't for you for that time. And then maybe you might be able to revisit that later with every few months whenever you're changing again. So just don't stress yourself and force yourself to stay on one course for longer than necessary. You may be stuck because there isn't anywhere else for you to go right now with this particular field or passion. Okay, so if you already have your, let's say, 10 to 7 job, all of those things I mentioned, you could actually fit those in time slots in the beginning of your day when you work on it. So you might say, I get up at 5 a.m. When you're getting up, you're tidying up, you're getting your place together, you're brushing your teeth, washing your face, doing all of those things. But you could also be praising. You could be listening to a Bible verse. You could be listening to some affirmations, speaking life into yourself at that moment. So that can be habit stacked. And I do mention habit stacking. Let me get that book. So anyone that knows me in real life knows I am always recommending this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It will help to get you in order to make sure you're able to do all of these things that we're talking about doing, especially before 10 a.m. I gave you an example of habit stacking, but it's pretty much doing stuff that you already typically do and then adding another good habit to that, so it's easier for you to get more things complete. So your habit stack, you getting ready in the morning, getting yourself together in the morning with maybe a prayer. You can add maybe a quick 20 to 30 minute workout. YouTube is a source. There's lots of workouts here on YouTube, so you don't have to necessarily go to the gym. It would be up to you how much time you're going to allocate to fitness versus writing and getting your mind right versus taking time with your family. The times will vary from time to time. The amount of time allocated to each sector will vary, but for the most part, you want to try and keep them as balanced as possible. So, for your mind, you may read, and that's also going to help with your career and passion. So, just stacking a lot of those together, creating, just building a schedule from that will help you feel more accomplished in the morning. It will keep you motivated, and it will also have your mind open for receiving more creative prompts from your environment. Now, if you already have a routine and you don't feel like it's working for you, I want you to be honest with yourself and ask yourself if you've put all the effort into making that routine work first. So, before doing anything else to adjust your routine, make sure you stick to it for the next 3 days. Stick to the routine you've created and see if it actually does work for you. Anything within that routine that doesn't work, you can make little adjustments here and there, but I wouldn't suggest scrapping everything and starting over again, just because routines can be difficult to build. So again, just having your baseline. I do have my routine here. I'm going to post it here. So I'm still making little tweaks, but for the most part, this is the routine I am working on following every day, just to keep myself on track. And I do find that when I do follow the routine and I get a lot of my things done, I feel so much better. I respect myself a whole lot more. I don't have any negative self-talk just because I've accomplished so much today. So the routine, major key. Number 4 is to do something that scares you. More specifically, just do something different every day. If it scares you, if it challenges you, if it brings you into a flow state where you're challenged just enough to, if it challenges you just enough to stay laser focused on it, it's not too challenging to where you've lost the plot and you're just bored or frustrated or your head starts hurting, because usually that's the time when you know you're actually learning things. Anytime you've worked on something too long, or if you've worked on something for a long period of time and you start to feel a lot of confusion and you start to get headaches, it's usually due to your brain adapting and learning. If it's fun enough for you to experience and it's challenging enough for you to keep going, that's a good space to be in. That is the flow state. It's what we're looking for here, where we say do something that scares you. Again, it doesn't have to be surprising, scared, or frightening or anything like that. And it does make things a little more exciting for you every day. What I done is change my life into a movie. So every day, whether I am vlogging or not, anytime I go on a walk or go to the store or do any mundane task, if I'm doing laundry or anything like that, I start to make a movie or TV show in my head. And because doing those tasks can be so boring, there's not any creativity in a lot of those things. Sometimes it's nice to just clean, because it can enter flow state with just cleaning, but other times I can actively do things to make my storyline a lot more exciting. So you may have heard the term do it for the plot. I've been living my whole existence since hearing that last year on the plot. So I've just been, anytime things seem to be a bit more boring and I don't feel as if I'm moving anywhere, I feel a little more stuck, then I decide to shift things up and do something random and do it for the plot. Whether it be to run up a hill randomly, sounds silly, doesn't really scare me, but it shifts things and gets me into that state where it allows my brain to come up with other ways to do something weird and for the plot, allowing the creative juices flowing. And of course, motivation is one of those things where you have to start sometimes and then you'll get motivated, as opposed to waiting for motivation to hit. There are times where motivation hits. For me, it's typically twice a day, usually earlier in the morning, and then around 5 p.m. or so, I just get this strike of motivation all of a sudden, and I usually try to take advantage of those moments, and I suggest you doing the same. Take advantage of any time that you do happen to fall into that motivational state, but then sometimes you're going to have to create it for yourself. So changing things up, doing something that scares you, and challenging yourself. And I don't want to go too much into this, but another thing I do to challenge myself would be learning another language. I am not sponsored, but I'm going to let you know Duolingo is one of those things I decided to take on. There is a paid version, but there's also a free version. You could do the free version and learn quite a lot on Duolingo. You can learn up to 3 languages on a basic account, so have fun with it. Number 5 would be to look back to go forward. So hopefully along this journey you are taking notes. You are recording your process, whether you're physically recording video, audio, writing it out, taking pictures. Make sure you're recording each stage so you can go back and compare where you were before to where you are now. With weight loss, it's a huge game changer for most who are tracking their weight loss to see where you were to where you are now. A lot of the time when you're looking in the mirror, you're not seeing much of a difference. I personally have completely transformed my life within a matter of 6 to 8 months, and I physically don't feel much different. It's important to go back and take a look at things from the old side. Look at the pictures, remind yourself of the headspace that you were in at that point. Think of the person you are today and ask yourself if you would still wear those clothes, if you would still allow yourself to conduct yourself in whatever way you were conducting yourself. When you record yourself, that is a huge way for you to be able to go in and say, okay, I don't like to say as much, because I do that a lot. When I'm editing these videos, I realize how much I am saying but then I realized it was because a lot of the topics that I were speaking on, I wasn't really as passionate as I am with this, which is the self-development. I want everybody to level up with me. Just taking a look, I will look at, okay, like for instance, my throat here. I ate something 2 days ago, white, and I'm paying attention and noticing things like this. It looks like an Adam's apple, but it's my thyroid just, and I am going to go get that tested again. I've been fine so far, but we still keep an eye on it, right? You learn a lot about yourself when you go back and look at yourself and you're honest with yourself. I don't want you to pull yourself apart when you go back and look at yourself. You have to look at it from loving eyes. I've mentioned this before, but you definitely need to take care of yourself as if you are a child learning to walk. Don't mark down every step that it's a step, no pun intended, but they don't realize all that it takes to be able to go from a crawl state to a walk state. So they might try to get up, it doesn't work, so they hold on to something, stabilize themselves, and they'll try to walk. They'll try to take a step or two, and then they'll try again until eventually they are walking. You will never make fun of a child learning to walk. So don't make fun of yourself. Just, again, correct yourself. You're learning and growing. So be patient. Always be impeccable with your word when you're speaking about yourself. So only speak positivity into yourself. You don't want your body, you don't want your mind to stop listening to you. You want a good relationship, body, mind, soul. You just need body, mind, spirit. You just need a good relationship, and you're not going to get one by treating yourself in an ill manner. So for me, it's simple enough. Some people don't want to hear it. That will go over some people's head. I'm being very serious when I say be impeccable with your word. Do not speak bad things on yourself. Be kind to yourself and respect yourself. Before I go for the next tip, I do want to add a spiritual tip right here, which would be to work on your auric body as well as the physical body. So you do have an energetic body as well as your physical, right? When we talk about energy and energy centers and your chakras, I'm not going to go into details, but if you are feeling stuck and unmotivated, it's best to take a look at your root chakra and your sacral chakra. So root chakra is your foundation. You're not going to feel as creative if you don't have your foundational needs met, which is shelter, safety, stability. You want to feel a sense of security in order for you to be able to create. And your sacral chakra is a creative chakra. So take a look at what you could do to cleanse or balance those chakras. I am actually working on a video series just going over the chakras and what we could do to balance them out. But until that comes out, you can check out some other videos on YouTube. If I find any, I'll put them in the description and I'll replace them with mine when I do it. But just taking a look at your energetic body as well, cleansing, balancing, healing, just working on that can help get you unstuck also. And another thing, looking back, it also will make you stay honest with yourself and keep promises to yourself. So if I go back and I say I'm going to get really awesome with fighting, because I really do enjoy Muay Thai and fighting, and I find that I've gone back and I'm like, oh, I haven't done that for a while, it does force me to go back into doing that again, and that movement creates more movement, which is more creative movement, which is more motivational movement that stops me from being stuck. So just revisiting in past times and things I enjoyed, especially from childhood, it's really a good way to get yourself out of a stuck state. A stuck state? All right. Number 6 would be to face your fears. So a lot of the time we aren't as stuck as we think we are. We just want to avoid the thing. We just want to avoid the work. We want to avoid whatever we need to tackle in order to get to the next step. And the best way to do it is actually by doing it. You're going to take it on bit by bit instead of at one big chunk. So let's say finances is your fear, the thing that you need to work on. You're going to look at your belief systems around finances and work on making adjustments to them. You're going to also look at ways to make more money. Let's say you wanted to come from your 9 to 5, because I know a lot of us living through this renaissance now, a lot of us want to transition from a typical 9 to 5 to a more freelance lifestyle where we have our own schedules and are doing our thing, but we don't want to really take on the business side of things, because I say that was the biggest thing for me. Whenever people spoke about your dream job, I'm like, I don't dream to work. Like, who wants a job? And then I didn't like the idea of becoming an entrepreneur. I liked the idea of being able to make YouTube videos and things like that, but I didn't like the business side of things, all of the things on the back end that you have to organize in order to allow streams of income to come in, because you're going to go from having a paycheck every 1 to 2 weeks, which is a larger portion, to then going from having a lot more streams of income, but in the beginning at least they're a lot smaller. The main thing is knowing that you're not going to get everything done at once. Everything is not overnight. Taking things on bit by bit is going to allow you to get things accomplished. I would say a lot faster than not doing it at all. So yeah, you'll get stuff done faster because you're getting them done. All right, so if you allocate maybe 10 minutes a day to just taking a look at the thing that is hindering you, that's bothering you, that you kind of have anxiety and fear around, that's going to help elevate you and get you out of that stuck state. And then that's also connected to the whole root chakra, that energy center. When you're able to stabilize yourself financially, you'll be able to become more creative, and it allows you to do more. And the more finances, the more creativity that can be displayed, because you'll have more money in order to get bigger and better and have more and really enjoy it. And common sense tells you the more money you have, the more experience you'll have. But maybe a way to conceptualize it, if you're not looking at it this way, would be to say, okay, I might want to get into painting, but I don't have the funds to really go to Florence and learn how to paint with, really world-renowned painters and teachers and things like that, right? So on the extreme end is actually going to an artistically known place in the world and having an experience with really important people in that field. You may not be able to do that today, but you may be able to go to Five Below and get some canvases and some oil paints and having a moment with your friends or family in nature and just painting. Or you could pull up a YouTube video and figure out how to replicate what they're doing on the video in real life, right? When you have more finances, that may elevate, again, not necessarily to going to Florence with world-renowned painters, but you may be able to now go to an art class somewhere in your city. You hop onto Groupon and see if there are any paint and sip parties where you'll be able to enjoy those things. So it's a it's a process leveling up, but each level you'll be able to experience more, feel more creative, and it motivates you more to making more money, to reaching those goals and having more of those experiences. So again, you might start off Five Below paints, but who knows how long it's going to take. And it's not really about the time, just forward motion. You're going to get there as long as you keep moving. So being able to experience another country, more quality paints and other people, there's different languages and things like that, just keeping things like that in mind are going to help keep you out of that stuck state and keep you moving. Now, creating a vision board would be another way to keep you out of the stuck state. So creating a habit to go back and look at the vision board each time you are feeling like you're stuck. Sometimes though, sometimes you may be stuck and not realize you are. So if you, this could be in the beginning of the video, but if you find that you're watching a lot of videos, let's say you want to get into influencing, or that's a bad word now, right? Content creating, whatever you want to call it today. If let's say you wanted to become a YouTuber, because honestly, I believe that's the way of the future. People aren't going to be working 9 to 5s as much anymore. AI is here for a reason. They will be taking a lot of those jobs that a lot of us don't want to do anyway. We'll be able to be online and create and earn a living, doing what we enjoy doing and providing value to others. Each one teach one. We're going to keep this cycle going. But let's say you want to become a content creator, you don't like the idea of going through the business side of things, just saying every single day, I need to learn how to do this, do that, do this, it can become overwhelming. So if you decide that this week I'm going to work on figuring out how to edit, so you have your editing software. I have mine in the description if you're interested. It's simply just CapCut. You can use your phone or the desktop version. There's a free version, or you can pay, I guess it's like $10. There are different levels, but you can definitely take your time, learn CapCut. They have tutorials within the app. There's tutorials all over other social media sites. There are tutorials here on YouTube. So you can definitely allocate some time every day to learning the skill, so that in a way is facing your fear. And then just a bonus tip, create a culture of checking in with yourself, with your higher power, just having time to be grateful and just living in that faith, because it is difficult. Any journey that you're taking, any changes that you've made or are making with yourself, especially if you've been in a rut for a long time, you have to make sure you are patient with yourself. Do not beat yourself up and do not overthink. It's easier said than done, and the more you practice not overthinking, the easier that becomes. But if you don't spend too long thinking about what you haven't done and checking off everything that you have done, you will see growth in that. You will see more respect in yourself, and when you respect yourself more, you just move differently. You get more accomplished and you elevate, and that's the whole point. So I hope this video finds you in good health. I hope this video is helpful for everybody it is made for. Again, all of the links are going to be in the descriptions, timestamp, so if you want to go back to a point, hopefully it makes enough sense once I've edited everything, because I get off the top of the dome. Of course, I have my notes for the basics, because I realize I ramble, so I don't want to talk too much here at the end. I am proud of you for making an effort. If you haven't heard anyone say that today, I am saying that I am very, very proud of you just to make the effort to take a video like this and at least learn something from it. And if you don't take anything else away, just take that you're already on track, you're already on the right course, that you are making an effort. Don't stop, keep moving. Wait, is that S Club 7? Don't stop. I don't know. There's a song. I'm sure there's a song like that. There's probably several songs like that. But anyway, I'm not gonna keep going. Again, thank you all for watching. Proud of you for getting this far. I'm proud of me for getting this far. Good luck with everything. Look out for my next video, because I do have quite a few coming on the pipeline. I'm excited to share with you. So until next time, lovelies.